Okay, so I've explained the basic logic of this project, starting with the 4 watchtowers of Enochian and the governors. I used a spiral methodology to map the tree of life onto the Enochian ethers. Then I explored the Enochian ethers using this hexagonal map. So now I have 30 pictures that are all symbolically loaded. And now I want to use this to help me gain similar pictures for the 88 specific articulations of the 4 worlds of the tree of life. And then I want to map those onto the constellations and onto the calendar. So I've used this proximized tree, which has got a real logical algorithm behind where the paths fall. And I've got these constellations that I have created a sequence for. So I am basically all set to go. The only thing that I don't have is the pictures. I have this, which is all the linear names arranged so they're divided amongst the letters. So now I've got linear names. I've got the whole Enochian system exhaustively mapped onto the tree of life. So as I work the tree of life, I can work the Enochian system. And as I work the Enochian system, I work the tree of life. Complete and whole, and they marry beautifully in my experience. But now comes the labor of the last 3 weeks. Doesn't look like much, but it was quite an intense work. The way I approached each one of these was similar to how I approached the hexagonal arrangement of the ethers, but I had much more information at my disposal. So I went in and I looked at the governor, I looked at their names, I looked at the linear name assigned. So like I got Aleph out here. I'm going to prepare for it. So the Aleph, this is going to be in fire. So here's the name that I'm going to resonate. I go and I have a look. Well, here's the governor, right? So what's the name of the governor that I'm activating here? On this map, right? So it's going to be Kralpir. And so I find Kralpir. Okay, where's Kralpir? And he's in here, and I find him on this Kralpir, right? Boom, 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 boom. And I have a double check. That's Kralpir. And so I'm taking this, I guess maybe 10-minute, 15-minute preparatory period just to really nail everything down. I'm looking through these as well just to get a sense of where everything falls. So I'm really preparing myself to blank my mind and to draw whatever comes to it. So once I have done that and I have exhaustively played with all of the different components with my conscious mind, it's as if I started to hear a drum beat when it was ready. It was like sometimes it was a drum beat, sometimes it was a swish, but there was always like a little phantom sound that was like, okay, you're ready to go in. And that always happened after and never before I had completely run my eyes over all the necessary information. So I guess this is my ritual procedure, right? I produce the tools, and then I get my mind ready, and then something intuitively tells me it's time. And then I go in. And so the first thing I saw on that first day was a mountain. First thing I saw was a seed. And the seed was growing a sheath of wheat. And as the vision progressed, I saw it was as if it was climbing a mountain and passing through a crown on the top of that mountain. And then the mountain was one of a range. And there was something whole about that final destination. So I came out of that. I didn't know while I was in there what on earth it meant. But it's interesting to look at it now. It's, right in Aleph at the level of the world of fire, so Atziluth. And it's that spirit that the wheat has of climbing the mountain of its life, of expressing itself. The optimism. There's also a phallic connotation. Like, I hadn't even thought of this, but when I drew this, basically it looks like a phallus. And the seed growing into the wheat. So there's just layer after layer of symbolism that I was not consciously aware of. So this is a genuinely channeled piece of work with many emergent qualities. So bearing in mind also now, I know this is Kraupir, and Kraupir is involved in, I just get my handy map out here. Kraupir participates in Zip. And, here we have Zip. So I was even bringing this in too. So it's like there's a gate between this ether and this level of the Fool, if you will, of Aleph. So there are now doorways leading in and out of the ethers and the major arcana that as I learn this deeper, I can pass through and move through. There is a whole underground map of this interconnected complex of meanings that is fascinating and a bit overwhelming. But I'm starting to get a handle on it. Okay. So that's what I did in the first one, and then I went in the second one. I'll just go through some of them. I mean, we don't have time for all of them, but this one was cool. So I went into the level of Asaya in Bet. I believe I did this on the first day. But I saw a peacock with a translucent fan, and the fan had all these fantastic images of galaxies and cosmoses and stuff. But behind the peacock's fan, you could see through it, and there was just a village, people living their day-to-day lives. And I think it was a really interesting image of the magician in the world of action, which is a purveyor of fantasy and wonder, but nevertheless superimposed upon a normal, everyday, mundane world. Anyone who has actually lived the magical lifestyle for long enough knows that the magical and the mundane are not two separate two separate worlds. They're part of one another. We have to live the mundane life just as we live the magical life. And I thought this image of the magician as a peacock in the world of Asaya was really cool. Similarly, other emergent images. So, Gimel, the hot path of the high priestess. In the plain of Beriah, there's this image of a woman holding two roses with a bird at her root, at her sadhasana, a living bird, a key on a red ribbon, and all the stars above her, the infinite, and hair like flowing water, and a keyhole in the heart. But her figure is also the reproductive system. So this is an image of the Red River, as it were. And this came to me on the level of Beriah and Gimel, and kind of emerged. And I thought that was interesting because that's not the thing that I would normally sort of be. Yeah, it shows me more and more that this is a set of images that are not really coming from my conscious design, but rather a synthesis of elements that I'm picking up. This was an amazing image of this kind of UFO. This is in Vav, again in Asaya. This UFO beehive that's floating around. There's a river, but there's this field of flowers, and this beehive has sort of floated around, and it's all the bees are out there pollinating the flowers. And yeah, on a literal level, it's a pretty surreal image, but it also suggests back into this set of symbolic arrangements we've been developing, the Magen, Hive, and so on, that there is a kind of mobility to this symbolic approach to magic, cross-fertilization going on, interconnection. So I thought that was pretty cool and pretty lucid. This is the inner solar system, and so I had a vision in Chet of the sun as the chariot, and then we have comets coming in there. But you've got all the main planets. You've got Mercury and Venus and Earth and the Moon, but also Cruinth, the asteroid that follows us in our Lagrange points. The Lagrange points are mapped out at the 30-degree points, and then there's Mars and the asteroid belt. So it was just a vivid image of the inner cosmos, or the inner solar system. And then, of course, later on, a complement to this will appear. Here's an image of a beekeeper made of bees. This dude was made entirely of bees and then surrounded by 12 beehives. So we can connect those symbolically. And on it goes. This one was pretty amazing. I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to talk about it right away. Here's an F hole from a violin, and I passed into the violin, and I had an experience of being vibrated while inside of a violin, and I saw the resonance itself formed this Magen star. It was a synesthetic image of the resonant sounding of the violin. And many more, each one unique and full of symbolism. So I will probably talk in more detail in the future about this. But for now, that is the 88 Doors of Wonder project complete.